Right. Yes. As I was saying, some children, some parents. So this particular parent, you say, is all right. Yeah, Christina. So this particular parent, you say, is a businessman. Christina
Yes,
Bakken.
sir.
Right. So he might have the mindset that okay,
Yes,
he's a
I'm
self.
here.
Yes. So he might have the mindset that he's a self-made businessman, and because he built himself and he made himself, and he has a business, he's independent. He's doing. He wants his son to develop those same qualities. But the boy might not be there yet. He's just 11 years old. So in that circumstance, he has to give him the required support and just 1 second. Yes. Right. Am I sharing my screen?
Yes, sir.
Right. So give him the required support and encouragement where those things are concerned. Right. So help him to yeah, go ahead.
No, what I was about to say prior to this, his mom would have taken up that slack of
That role.
being involved with his homework and ensuring that he do his revision and whatnot. So after mom left, I guess dad,
yeah, he
because he was not as involved.
It took a while to develop that bond. The bond is not there.
But he still hasn't developed it one, but
yeah, but you have to, you have to let him see the value in doing it that way. Yes. Somebody is going to share a point on this. Okay.
Yes, sir. I wanted to say something. So if the teacher realizes that the student is not getting the support at home, right, that is where the teacher needs to kind of step up to the plate and use the student so that he can be a part of the learning process. Because if you realize that he's not getting the support at home and he does not understand and he's sitting there and not saying anything, right? The teacher's job now is to kind of help to guide him by probably making him a part of, let's say they're doing some, let's say his grammar or something, she could use his name and ask him questions. Pull from him so that you'll know if learning is actually taking place or if it is that he has a developmental delay or something,
Sure. Yeah, but what Christina is saying is that she's not the teacher, she's doing the lessons with him. And yes, the teacher is not the teacher is the one who's teaching online, and the teacher's not really asking them questions as to whether they understand or they understand. The teacher is going through the lesson. And then when it's time to produce work, the young man he's not putting up his hand saying he doesn't understand. So yeah, but I think you understand that aspect of it, right? Stacey?
Yes, sir. I understood that part, but what I was just in, so
yeah, from a teacher perspective, yeah.
Yes, in the class is aspiring teachers, so that that's just a hint.
Okay, good. Avanet?
Can I give a point on that situation?
Yeah, just now, let's take Avanet first and then Tamara.
Okay, no problem, sister.
No problem.
Yes, sir. I was wondering something. How can you as a teacher reach a student when the parent does not believe in education and you're trying, you're going all out, but the kind of remarks you're getting back from the parents while you're trying to help the child to progress forward, you're realizing that the parents don't believe in no education at all.
How old is the child?
Teenager.
Oh, a teenager. Okay, so that may have been drilled in the child's mind from a very, very young age. So the parents don't have jobs. The jobs didn't require education.
They are self-employed.
Self-employed. So you see again. So the parents are basically trying to pass on the same kind of orientation, the same mindset, the same values that they have. But education is a waste of time.
Yes, and you're getting that kind of energy back from the child. I don't want this because I don't need this.
Yeah, because that is the easiest way out, and he doesn't have to do any work. He doesn't have to do any homework because mother and father say, "Don't worry about that. You're family business or whatever, as the case may be." But even for a family business, you need education. You need to do your books. You need to write letters. You need to communicate. You need to, as people could fool you and people could trick you even if you don't have a basic education. So education is valuable all around, you know? So you have to kind of, as a teacher, you have to try to show the value in the different subjects that the child is doing and how it might be able to contribute to the child's education, to the child's being self-employed at some point in time, and bring the parents around, talk to the parents and say, try to encourage him, because not having an education, you don't know, life and circumstances will change. It's not going to benefit him in the long run. And education is going to enhance his chances and his ability to do well in school. Yeah. Right. Okay. Cody, I think your camera is on. All right. Thank you. Right. Somebody just wanted to make a point on this. I saw somebody else was going to make. Yeah, Tamara.
So I was just on the lines for the situation before. Sometimes parents are, I'm going to say, for instance, I'm going to use me as I'm a teacher and I have a son, teacher and parent.
Yeah.
I am not sure if it's a situation, if it's because my son goes to the same school that I teach at, but he has always been fortunate to get teachers who he would rather assistance from than from me. There are and I've gotten it from some parents as well. The children always say, my teacher said, that's not how my teacher said it is, so my teacher said. So they have that confidence in the teacher. So it's like when they get home, by the time they get home, the children have already done all their homework. Mommy doesn't need to help. No, my teacher is going to go first. So sometimes it's not always the teacher. Sometimes the children have that bond with their teachers, and it's like they prefer or they rather work with the teacher than the parent.
Yes.
So
it depends on how
we teachers should have that. Yeah, that's why the children are so close.
The teacher is always right. Your father could have a PhD in physics.
Yes.
The teacher could just have A-level physics.
Yes.
And the teacher is telling the teacher tells the child this is how it is done, and the person has a PhD in physics. The child does not want to hear that individual.
Yes.
As they get older and as they get more mature, they'll take a different perspective. But young children, teacher's word is law. And so while your child is saying that about their teachers, there are other children that you teach will be saying that about you as their teacher when they get home, even if their parents
are. Yes, so because I always have to do extra lessons at night when parents, Miss, I cannot take it on. She don't want to listen to me. Miss, look, talk to her, help her. I can't. And I'm like, but I'm tired, but I don't have a choice. I have to because they don't want to go with the mothers or the fathers, what is the teacher that they want to. So it goes both ways.
So it goes both ways. And but as they mature, their minds, their attitude and their maturity would help them to realize, okay, mommy.
Well, I've always got lower grade, so.
Huh?
I've always taught the lower grade, so.
Oh, right. Mommy have certain skills, daddy has certain skills. So when they get more mature, they will come to you and say, okay, well, help me with this or guide me here and so on. Even if they have teachers, right? So be a little patient.
All right.
All right. Okay, so parental involvement, newsletters to families, communicating with the parents, family workshops, positive calls home. Don't only call you home when the child does something wrong. Call you home and have positive communication with the children, parents as well. Invite family members to volunteer and make family members your partners. It's not a war, not a competition between you and the family, right? Look out for children who might be disadvantaged in one way or the other, either hearing impairment, visual impairment, squinting of the eyes. Prepare yourself to be able to recognize when there are challenges, when children are having challenges, not that they just don't want to do the work or they're not good at doing the work. See if you can identify what the issues are, right? Whether it's they come to school hungry, they haven't had a meal for the day, and so on. But we know we have breakfast in schools, we have lunch in schools, and look for children who collect in box lunch to carry home and those things like that. Yeah. Socioeconomic diversity for teachers. So the teachers must be aware to lack of preparation. Because a child is coming from a low socioeconomic bracket, as we said, doesn't mean that their destiny is academic failure. They're not bound to fail. And as we said, many of them will exceed expectations. As a matter of fact, some children, if you tell them that they're not going to succeed, they will make every effort, especially teenagers, they'll make every effort to prove you wrong. And some of you here in this group have proven teachers wrong because teachers had low expectations from you, and you make every effort to prove Miss also wrong because the teacher didn't think that you were able to achieve that. I'm sure it have somebody here could say yes. Who's saying that?
Christina here.
Yeah, Christina.
I had a physics teacher, O-level physics, and she literally stood a day in class and she degraded every student. Who is going to be picking up garbage for the garbage truck? Who is going to do it? Well, so when she reached to me, I was like, excuse me, I've never disrespected you in class. Please don't disrespect me and put your tongue on me, please and thank you.
Right.
So that is not nice because it could have opposite effects on children. It could have, people could get depressed from that, and persons could get, okay, I'm going to prove myself wrong. Yeah. That is not a nice trait in teachers at all.
No. Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. I remember, well, I didn't have teachers. Yeah, Sinead?
Yes, sir. I was going to say, in secondary school, my class, we experienced a similar situation to Christina's. But that was our class teacher. She would come, and when she comes, she would get vexed and, give us negative comments, And sadly, like many of the students in my classroom, they gave up, on performing in class. They would just do their own thing, Yeah, because they feel discouraged, what I mean? But I used to try to encourage them and stuff like that, But I was discouraged a bit, but I still persevered and tried my best, yes, and encourage others and stuff like that. But that is wrong. I think what teachers do. Some teachers, as a teacher, you should motivate and give, even if you see the children are, not doing so, struggling, you give them positive motivation, you try your best.
Yes, you're right. Yes. Jesus never put anybody down. The worst person that came to him, he tried to lift them up. He tried to show them a better way. He tried to show them love. And teachers, he's the model for all teachers. He never, so we must also be like that, because there's something called self-fulfilling prophecy, where when you have low expectations of people, many times the low expectations are fulfilled. Now we have a phenomenon, we like to prove people wrong, so we might go against that. But as Sinead is saying, the majority of the class was discouraged. So the higher expectations you have, sometimes children try to meet your expectations. You believe in them, you tell them, I know you could do it, you could do work, you could try hard. But not only just motivating them, but giving them the right strategies will also help them. Of course, ethnicity is the shared group, and teachers need to be aware of the different ethnic groups that they have to teach, be aware of the underrepresented groups, and what are the characteristics of those groups, and how you need to reach them where they are. There's a concept called stereotype threat, where the belief, a stereotypical belief, can undermine performance. So like girls know, they had the idea girls are not good at maths or girls are not good at science. So if they're doing a science course, like how Christina talked about the physics, they already believe that girls struggle with these areas. So teachers have to do what is required to reduce the anxiety so that stereotype threat doesn't take hold and undermine their performance.
Excuse me.
Yes, Christina, go ahead.
Stereotype, does it work the other way? For example, you know how persons like to see the Chinese perform well at like math and science. That is the same stereotype threat, or that's something different?
Well, the Chinese, what they have identified, they have low self-efficacy. And because their self-efficacy is low, it works in the opposite way. They always believe that they won't do well. So they work twice or 10 times as hard. And Chinese parents usually give their children extra work to do in math and science. from a very young age. They buy extra books and so on and that, because they believe that is the way the world is going and that's the way they'll help them to excel. So the Chinese, because of that mindset, and they never believe, always doubting themselves, that self-doubt, they push themselves harder. Nigerians have a superiority complex. And that is why Nigerians, they always go to their own business. Yes, some of them are tricksters and so on, but they always go for their own business. They always go for law, medicine, engineering. And then when you hear Nigerians in the university, that's because they believe that they will be better than anyone else. So there are those are two opposite ends. One does not believe in their ability, and one they believe have superiority in their ability. And then there are those who believe that they're going to do good anyhow. They don't have to work hard. And I'll tell you which group is that. They don't believe that they have to work hard. They will just do good. And so they do nothing and they do poorly. Sorry?
So tell us the group now.
They feel they don't know it already. I'm not even telling only the group.
Sir has piqued our interest and he's just leaving us hanging there.
Yeah, you're bright enough. You all could figure it out.
I know who is that already.
Right. You know, me had to study. I don't know that already. I think what you beaten up so far. All right. So we could help students to develop the correct type of mindset. Yeah. So stereotype threat can work. Stereotype threat is more negative perspective, but in terms of self-ideation and how different groups of students think of themselves. I taught this same course for year 2 students in New Zealand. The class had whites, the class had Malaysians, the class had Asians, the class had Pacific Islanders. I was probably the only black person in the room. And I remember it had a white blonde girl in the class. She's like watching me like she never saw a black person before. That was pretty interesting, but it was kind of unnerving at first, but then I kind of blanked out of my mind. But there was this student in the class who was we had 3 exams for that class. I was teaching that class along my PhD supervisor. And one student was getting 48 and 49 out the exam. So I saw him one day in the library. I said, hey, how are you doing so well and so forth? He told me English is not his first language. Therefore, he would spend like 4 to 5 hours reading a chapter in the library. And he said when he finished reading the chapter, because he had to translate it back and forth his language, he knew the chapter inside out. But that was the level of his commitment. For that one course, he was spending 4 to 5 hours to read one chapter. When I went to a conference in Barcelona. When I was in Barcelona on Saturday morning, I went walking somewhere in the city around by the hotel where I was. And I passed by a library in Barcelona, one university's in the library, and the library was below the level of the ground. So I'm walking up on the pavement, so I'm looking down, and you're seeing rooms where students, and it was Saturday morning about 10 o'clock or something about that. So, and people in the library reading and studying and things. I was like, really? Students were in the library on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. So different cultures and different perspectives and different students have different mindsets that they bring towards their work. Last week we spoke about the Guyanese.
If you get me a library in Barcelona, yeah, I'll go and read. Our library is not really boring. I love to read too, but I love old and old books. So the older the building is nicer for me.
Yeah, Barcelona is a fantastic city. Next time I'll tell you a little more about that. Our time is running. Let me go. Okay, so we can skip this on. You'll just look at the slides. Teaching in a culturally diverse setting, you always have to try to be fair to all students. The material must reflect the diversity of the class. So in choosing the pictures for these slides, I'm very aware of the cultural set of the class and what kinds of pictures I want to use to convey the ideas of positive and negative imagery. Utilize materials that is authentic. Make a strong school-home connection. We spoke about that. Avoid stereotyping. We spoke about that. Do not allow people to use slurs and taunts and jokes that put down other groups, other children. Have teachers that call children names. If have teachers that call children names that other children in the class develop. That is always not healthy. Sometimes you have a little pet name, a little fun thing, but yeah, but sometimes the names, the nicknames, are negative. So teachers have to stay away from that and avoid that. Create tolerance and respect for others. Make sure the assignments are not frustrating and not too out of the way to create frustration, and help students to collaborate and cooperate with one another. There's a lot of bilingualism taking place now, and even in Trinidad, we will have some challenges with that as we have more and more Venezuelans coming in. So yeah, but that's not widespread throughout the Caribbean, because generally speaking, if you're from a region where they speak multiple languages or they have the dialect of Fatwa, then everybody knows it, you know. So generally speaking, that's not a big issue here. Of course, there are different types of bilingual education, but I don't need to spend much time on this. One of the things that what you're seeing here on your screen is different strategies that teachers to help English learners. Don't show it, but enact it. So let them do something to remember words. Safe opportunities to take risks in terms of helping to develop a vocabulary, keep the instructions clear. Identify cognates like bedroom. Bedroom, anybody know what the word for bedroom in Spanish? Anyone knows a little Spanish and knows the word for bedroom?
Or something like that.
Yes, dormitorio. And a dormitory is a place where you basically a dorm in a room where you go there to sleep and, you know, do your little work and stuff like that. So you can make those kind of links and those kind of connections, but don't avoid embarrassing children. Well, you know, those things would apply. Let them do group work, group interaction, or instruction for reading, so they can feed from each other and they can learn from one another how to pronounce, how to learn different words. And this, what you're seeing here, is something I found online, which would have some near words like you just add an O to the English word, and you get the Spanish word. Abstract is abstracto, compact is compacto. Now, some people speak like that. They just add an O and they think they talk in Spanish. They just add an O to every, like they'll say, they just add a word or a letter O to every. No, that's not Spanish, and that's not Nigerian either, right? But these are some actual Spanish words that are very, very close. They're called cognates, very, very close to the English word itself. Perfect is perfecto. I think I know that one. I didn't know excepto is just as accept, and correcto, I know correcto, yeah? So those are some, it's very interesting. Okay, what is multicultural education? Well, multicultural education is where you try to respect each of the other cultures and try to represent each of the cultures in the classroom and try to reach students using their cultural base as well. So you have dimensions of multicultural education, such as integration of content, construction of knowledge, try different activities to reduce prejudice. So sometimes we have different groups. So we might do it in terms of religion. So you might have a Hindu in your class, a Muslim in your class, a Christian in your class, and different religions in your class, and you can have them come and speak about their religion, have them speak about, do activities. Sometimes we do different activities around different times for different celebrations, Christmas, Diwali, etc., right? Equity in pedagogy, and the school culture and so forth. Sometimes there are gender biases in our class. How do gender biases affect students' school experiences? Sometimes each society has a different way of treating males as well as females, and sometimes that spill over into the classroom. Boys are expected to give trouble, and sometimes boys get the short end of the stick where troublemaking is concerned. Sometimes girls get trouble, and sometimes girls get obliged. Sometimes they don't. But always remember that gender is basically a learned behavior, and teachers ought to try to treat both sexes as fairly as is possible. And even though you're female, don't come down on the boys. Right, ladies? Everybody gone quiet?
Oh, they're still waiting for answer, you know?
Reach out and help the boys. Don't beat them, right? Don't beat them up. Right. Because there's a boy crisis. You know, males are underperforming in the school classroom for one reason or the other. And I did a research paper I did a journal article on this, and you probably can search for it. I'm probably gonna put it up and let you all read it and give some comments and so on. That's one of the things that we'll comment on. Right? Boys are usually suspended more, put out of school more, you know, and as a matter of fact, wait a minute. Last night I had a dream coming to this morning. I dreamt that I was in secondary school again, and I think I had to go back to school for something, and I was kind of anxious because I think I'd missed 2 or 3 days, and I said, oh my gosh, today's Wednesday, I had to go, today's Wednesday, I didn't go to school for the week. I don't know what that dream means. And, but I was afraid, I was scared because I'd missed 3 days of school, and I didn't think I would be able to catch up on the Thursday. So sometimes when boys are put out of school, they lose connection, they lose where they are in this class, they're already struggling, and they get suspended and they get sent home and so on, they put out of the class, the situation is rendered worse. Okay, so we have to reach out to the boys and try to facilitate their learning and try to help them as much as we want to help the girls. Right, ladies?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. African American males, you know, the challenges, more risk than African American girls. They're more risk for learning disabilities, a higher rate of ADHD. Boys are actually improving on many indicators such as dropout and college attendance, and girls are improving, but girls are improving faster. Of course, there's a maturity hypothesis that girls mature faster than boys. So girls have a 3-year gap, a 2 to 3 year gap. So 12 and 13-year-old girls are usually, if you have a 13-year-old girl and a 13-year-old boy, the 13-year-old girl is a lot more mature, quote unquote, than a 13-year-old boy. Yeah. So if you recognize that, Sorry?
I said, so that's not quote unquote, that's a fact.
Yeah. So that's why young women in school, they often like the boys that are older. So if you Form 1 and Form 2 girls, they like the boys in Form 4 and Form 5. They find the boys at their age, they're so wild, they're so this. And it carries on, it goes on. So generally speaking, women in relationships, women are much younger than men in relationships. There are a few, of course, who might like the younger boys, but this is not that kind of class. So, right. Avoiding gender bias in teaching. So don't reinforce gender stereotypes. So help them to see, you know, girls can do well at math, as you see in the picture there. Don't treat the males and females too differently. If a boy wants to go into cooking or chef work, or if a girl wants to be an engineer, if a boy wants to be a nurse or anything in a female type, quote unquote, profession, no, don't make them feel as if, you know, they're that bad. Sexual orientation and gender identity. This is something that teachers will have to be faced with in terms of your sexual orientation. You can't discriminate against a child because a child has a different orientation, or because their parents are different orientation. Come to school and say they have 2 daddies or 2 mommies, and they're not talking about a stepmommy and the actual mommy. That is possible to happen. So how do you deal with that? You can't turn up your nose and say, you can rebuke it in Jesus' name. You might want to, but that might not be acceptable, because not the child's fault. The child doesn't choose his parents, or choose who the parents would fall in love with, or choose who the parent would be oriented towards. So you as a teacher would have to manage that process, manage your own emotions, and have a non-judgmental and non-prejudicial attitude towards that. Gay, lesbian, and so forth. Yes, Sinead?
Sir,
you can't tell them that you can't say that's wrong and you shouldn't be you can't, no.
Yeah, and that's, sir, you know, to me, like, with teaching it, because we as teachers, we will be faced with that, like, you know, in the classroom, like, let's say you're a Christian and stuff like that, like, how, like, I don't know, like, and you have to teach the children about this. Well, you know what I mean?
People make choices. You let them know that people make choices, and some people, if you're teaching in a Christian school, you can say, the Bible says X, Y, Z, but some people make different choices. Some people choose to go against what the Bible says. You can say that from a Christian school, in a Christian school, from a Christian perspective, so that there are different choices that people make, and people will be responsible for their choices. If you're in a non-Christian, a government school, you might not be able to say that because you don't use the Bible as your reference point. You'd say that people have what is called alternative lifestyles. And for you, you can tell them what you choose and why you make your choice if they ask you, or you can volunteer. Well, this is who I am. This is what I believe in, and I believe in this because I'm a Christian and that sort of thing. Yeah. So you can make your position very clear.
Okay.
And still not be judgmental. Leave judgment to God, right? Okay. Students are often different in intelligence and learning styles, and the intelligence quotient is the chronological age over intellectual ability times 100. So if the child is the intelligence quotient is calculated their chronological age over their developmental age times 100. And so some children might be operating at a higher level than their chronological age, and some children will be operating at a lower level than their chronological age. So the ones who are operating on a higher level than their chronological, if they're 10 years and they're operating as a 15-year-old in terms of their knowledge base and what they're able to problem solve and understand, you have a very high IQ. If they're 10 years old and they only know up to a 7 or 8-year-old or 6-year-old, then the IQ will be much lower than it should be. So a 10-year-old who cannot read basically and so on would have a very low IQ. Yes, Christina?
Hi, so in the classroom, how does a teacher, and I'm asking this based on personal experience, my nephew is 7, but he can do the standard 5 work. If he writes essay right now, I'm certain he will get his first choice.
Right.
However, they don't want to let him skip any, the school does not want him to skip a standard, and he's now getting bored.
Yeah.
How is the parents?
Well, the parent might need to change school, get him in an environment where
this is the second time they changed the school. The first school was a play school, and I suspect the school just didn't want to lose all the money from standards he's skipping.
Oh.
So now he's in another school, and they are
before choosing the other school, they should have let the school know, or the principal or whoever know why they're changing school.
Now his teacher gives him work to that level.
Work.
I find it's kind of unfair to the teacher, sort of compare two different two different work, a schedule for two different
I understand what you mean.
Classroom. Yeah. So I'm like, why won't you want, even if you just let them skip one standard at least?
Yeah, no, but the parents should have worked that out before putting them in that school, because they had that problem before. So don't put them in an environment and then, so that the school that would have been taking him and let them do assessment and see where he should be and where they can put him. So that
I believe they did an assessment at first, but I'm not too sure because I was involved in getting him into that school while I was looking at the
Right.
And they changed principals, so I don't know if that's
right. So principal has a different philosophy.
As a teacher, and even my nephew, who is an infant, he is performing at standard 1, and he is starting to get bored. I think it's because he works with his brother, so he is more advanced.
Moving ahead.
Yeah, and he is getting bored, and he just sits. The teacher don't ask him any questions anymore because he doesn't get anything wrong when he answers.
Right.
So she asked.
So what job the parents do?
One is an environmentalist, and my brother, he does quality control. They both work at Caridi.
Right. So you see what I'm talking about? The home, the stimulation in the home, the enrichment in the home. That is what creates children. So you can create any type of mind that you want if you give the correct type of enrichment.
I was actually encouraging them to let him write essay as a private student when he can, to see if maybe he can move on into secondary school.
At 7 years old?
Well, not at 7, I say when he can.
Oh, right. Yeah, because there are also issues with social development.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, let's leave that for another time because we just have about 5 minutes again. I don't want the time to be cut, right? Right. Yeah, so there are some other issues. So origins of intelligence in terms of measuring it, heredity and environment. And again, Christine example is a good example of heredity and environment. He would have inherited certain skills from his parents and certain competencies. And then the environment is both parents working at Cariri, Caribbean Research Institute, would have been an enriched environment in science and whatever. So it would have boosted them up reading, etc., etc. So these children are performing way above their age category, age grouping. So again, we have to understand diverse thinkers. And in doing that, we have to broaden the type of assessment that we allow, re-examine the curriculum, have different approaches. This is what needs to happen, Christina, a re-examination of the curriculum for these students. So each school needs to have classes where they can put these children and they can be on a different track, on a parallel track, you know, provide professional development for educators so they're able to deal with those who are on the upper end of the spectrum and those who are on the lower end of the spectrum. Yeah, so it's really, really, really a need. And some of you would have discovered, if you haven't yet discovered, the whole notion of multiple intelligences and that sort of thing. All right, we just have about 5 more minutes again. I mean, this is really, really going good and we're really having fun, but yeah. So let me just, so any questions based on what we covered today? It's all recorded. So, okay, so let me tell you, the problem is with the recordings. I try to put them on eLearn and it's rejecting it because the file is too big. So as I put in the chat, I have to find another means of, Sinead, you're gonna say something? Say it quick.
So okay, go ahead. You'll have to copy, you have to upload it to your Google
Drive.
Yeah, and share the link.
And share the link. Okay, right. So I'll do that Google Drive thing and share the link.
That's what they normally do. Share the link.
Right, yes, because it was really frustrating me. I didn't know what
Google Drive. It's Google Drive. Yes.
Right. Okay, so I'll do that over the next couple of days. The Google Drive, I'll share the link. Also, I would prepare the list of, I hope you're doing your reading. Make some time and do your reading. Don't be naughty.
So if I'm honest, I am now starting with that reading.
Okay,
so.
no, listen, but Jillian, use the keywords at the back of the end of the chapter. Those are the words you're going to be tested on in a couple of weeks' time, right?
Okay, sir.
But by Sunday, you would have, I'll put on eLearn the list of words that I want you to know.
Yes, that would help.
But it at the end of the chapter, don't tell me it could help, it's at the end of the chapter, right there. Right, Jill?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So do a reading of the chapter, please. Don't just depend on everything. And I would post the slides, I'll post the videos on a Google Drive. I'll talk to Roland and so on, Mr. Celia about it as well. All right, so those are things that you have to look forward to. Start thinking about your topic that you want to research, go through the text, see if you pick up an interesting topic, and so when I come back, I'll start to spend some time just talking about that alone, about how to do the research paper and so on. You all will have done research papers before, so, and you've done English or research paper writing or something like that in year 1, I'm suspecting, not so?
Not all of us, sir.
All right, but so I'll give some instruction and guidelines. I'll give, it's in the course outline, but I'll give full instruction and also an example.